Hey there friends, how's it going? David Potts here with Song Notes, and I want to talk about Fire and Rain by James Taylor. Now, the honest truth is I am 2 days into learning this song. I want to sort of show you what I would recommend doing your first hour, or your first day, or your first few days of practice. A sort of getting started guide. What I recommend doing. This is not going to show you the exact tab and all that stuff that he's playing because that's too complicated at first. At first, what I recommend doing is learning the chord shapes, getting comfortable with the chord shapes. So I'm going to talk about them. I'll talk about finger position, and I'm also going to talk about some exercises you can do based on these chord shapes, right? These aren't necessarily coming from the song, but what they are doing is going to sort of give you a degree of fluency so that when you want to follow through and keep going with the song, you're not going to be mystified by some of these chord voicings and some of the right-hand bass note stuff you have to do with your thumb, right? And again, this is what I'm actually practicing to learn this song, so that's why I wanted to share this with you. So let's go. All right, friends, now that we're zoomed in, let's look at these first couple chords here and get going with this, right? So to kick off the song, we have this A, then we have this E minor 7, then we go down to a D, then we go down to an A, okay? Now, of course, as James Taylor is playing this, there's all kinds of slides and he's picking certain strings, and that's kind of stuff we can save for the full lesson, right? But again, this lesson's all about the chord shapes. How do you sort of get comfortable with them and everything? And I'll teach you right here. So what's going on with this? You look at this A and this E minor 7, you're like, those don't look like the ones I'm used to. Here's what's going on. So for this A, James Taylor is effectively taking the 5th string, the open 5th string, from an A major voicing, a typical open A major, and he's taking the thinnest 3 strings from this barred version of A major, okay? And if you combine this thinnest 3 strings with this open A string, you get what he's playing, okay? So technically this is a valid A major. Now, the great thing about this is you're not barring all 6 strings, right? You're barring 2 strings with your left index finger. And you're going to use your left middle finger to play the 6th fret of the 3rd string. So 6, 5, 5, 6, 5, 5. At first, just worry about those 3 strings. Don't worry about the 5th string yet. And the great thing about this shape is that the second shape, the second chord you play, is the same exact shape. You're moving this down 2 frets. So it's 4, 3, 3, 4, 3, 3. You're barring the 3rd fret with your index finger, and you put your middle finger on the 4th fret of the 3rd string. Okay, and this is going to be the top 3 strings of your E minor 7. Now, the difference between this first chord and this second chord, you might notice it already, it's the bass note, okay? Your thumb. And the first chord, it's playing this open A string. And on the second chord, it's playing the open E string, right? Because whenever we're playing a chord, major or minor, the sort of default assumption is that the lowest note, the bass most note, is going to be the same letter, like note letter of the chord itself, right? So for an A, you're going to have an A bass note. For an E, or an E minor, or an E minor 7, you have an E bass note. There are exceptions to this for sure, but the sort of assumed default, unless you specify otherwise, right? If you did like a D over F sharp, that's a chord we're saying, no, this is a D major with an F sharp bass note, right? That's what the sort of slash sort of means, right? But anyway, we go to our A, and we go to our E minor 7. And this is the first thing you just want to get comfortable with practicing. Because again, when James Taylor is playing it, he has slides going on there. He's plucking individual strings. Before you get into that, just get comfortable with this, okay? I'm going to talk about an exercise you can do to get good at this. But before we do that, let's look at these other 2 chords we're going to have here. It's going to be a D major and an A, okay? Now this is where I want to talk about right hand technique for these first 4 chords. And this is going to apply to this entire song. He's not strumming these chords, okay? He's using a very specific right hand technique that you're going to want to use here. Now I want to put this graphic on the screen right here. And this is generally going to apply to everything I show you here. No matter what chord we're using, our thumb is sort of going to be in charge of the thickest 3 strings, okay? That's where the bass note of the chord is going to be. And then these 3 fingers, your index, middle, and ring finger, are going to be either on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd string, or sometimes they're going to be on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string. Okay, it's all going to depend on context of the chord and also what sort of voicing and what sound James Taylor wants. Because sometimes he's going to, like for example, this E, we're going to get to later, this E is the 6th string bass note, and then it's 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string with these fingers right here, okay? Now, but let's look at the D and the A here. Now, if you look at the sort of fretboard charts, you recognize a D major shape and you recognize an A major shape. It all seems good so far, but let's talk about what's going on. Your fingers right here, index, middle, ring, are going to be assigned to the third, second, and first string of those chords, okay? For the D, right thumb is on the fourth string, and then for the A, your thumb is going to move to the fifth string, but these three fingers are going to stay on the first, second, and third string. So for those first four chords, the simplest way I would recommend sort of getting comfortable with them is an exercise like this. And this is a great way when you're learning any song, take the pieces of it and apply them to things you feel kind of comfortable with, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the simplest way to do this, is you give yourself lots of time. If you're having trouble with the transitions, slow the counting down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, to A, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you want very clean sounds. If you're not getting clean sounds, stop, look at the chord, and make sure you're sort of doing things cleanly and make adjustments if you need to. And at first, you might not be able to get clean sounds all the time. That's okay. Come back to it later that day. Come back to it a few days in a row. Your fingers will hopefully get calloused up. Your muscles will get used to doing this, and you can sort of get that clean sound you're looking for. Okay? So, that's the first four chords. You could sort of spice things up and figure 1.2 here, my instructional PDF. You know, you could do the bass note by itself. Might not seem like a much at first, but you could sort of ratchet it up a little bit, you know, have fun, improvise. And repeat it. Try to repeat it and keep your tempo. Clean notes always. If you're not getting clean notes, slow it down. Okay, so that's what we're going to look there in 1.2, and you could even take it further in this 1.3 figure I have. You could sort of do a bass note, third string, and then first and second string together, and then back to third string, right? And these are just examples of the sort of little grooves, little opportunities for notice there, I kind of had a muffled bass note. Fifth string bass note, sixth string bass note, fourth string, back to fifth string. Okay, so those are three different exercises I have written up in my PDF if you want to sort of get something to practice there. But let's look at some of the other chords we're going to have. Now, we're going to have this E, like I told you. You put your hand in an E major position, and then your thumb's going to go on the sixth string. And then these three fingers will be on the second, third, and fourth string. Okay? This one's a pretty straightforward chord. You just have to remember where to put your right hands. But next I want to look at this G and this G major 7, because this is the one that was really giving me trouble the first couple hours I was practicing this. I want to talk about how to approach playing this. Okay? So this G, for context, you know, he's going to go from an A to an E minor 7 to a D to an A. Then do this sort of hammering on stuff. Then he's going to an E. Then he's going to go to this G, right? Okay, I don't have the exact tab there. It's something like that, right? What's going on here? This is not a regular G. It's going to be a bit trickier, and I want to call out these finger positions because they really matter. The way I would approach learning this one is breaking this G into two parts. The first is what I would just call regular G, where you're going to put your left middle finger. This is what I recommend doing. It works for me. Left middle finger on the thickest string, third fret, and then your left ring finger on the second string, third fret. Okay? So you're going to have sixth string and then fourth, third, second string. Okay? It's just like the E we were playing earlier. Remember this E? Okay? 6, 4, 3, 2 as far as the string numbers. Then we go to this G, right? Now here's the deal. Eventually you're going to have to put down your index finger on the second fret of the thinnest string. This is not a natural chord for me to transition to. It took me a while to get comfortable with it, but here's a way for you to get comfortable with it, right? Start off with an A. I recommend starting off with an A here for this little exercise. And what we're going to do is get used to going from this A, and I'm playing the A like this with my triangle shape. You can play it like that if you want to, you know, however you do your fingers up here. It's a regular A. But we're going to go to this G. And all you're pushing down is your left middle at first on the 3rd fret of the low E string. So get comfortable with the G or the A. Then go to the G. You can bring in finger picking pattern of choice. I'm just going between 2 chords right here, this A and this G. This is the first thing you want to get comfortable with because it's only going to get more complicated, right? We're going to add on, eventually what we're going to do is add on our left ring finger, 3rd fret of the 2nd string, okay? So let's practice going from this A, 2, 3, 4 to the G, add the ring finger back to the A, okay? We're just sort of biting off a little bit, seeing if we can chew it. We're giving ourselves time to put that left ring finger down, right? We're not rushing to do it at first. And what happens is as you do this, you're gonna find that your left ring finger is ready to take the ice or whatever the metaphor you want. It's gonna be ready to go in its position sooner and sooner, the more comfortable you get. And you're gonna get to the point where it can be there right away. It can be ready. Okay? And then you guessed it. What do we do next? Maybe start with this ring finger down, then add this index finger up here. Now this is a G major 7. It sounds a bit, it has a nice major 7 sound, right? But it's not as clean as a major chord is very just clean and happy and sort of non-controversial. The major 7th kind of has it's a bright and positive chord, but there's a bit of wistfulness or a bit of longing or something baked into it because of this note. This is the major 7th tone of the G scale, right? So, but what we're gonna do is not gonna rush to this shape. We're gonna start with the A, go to the G, ring finger, and when you're ready, add that left index finger, and then you're gonna wanna use these 3 fingers, like I said, on the thinnest 3 strings. So you could do it like this, right? Do the A, you can either do the thinnest 3 strings or the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string. It's up to you. The main point here is you want to practice going into the G and then leaving the G. Go back to the A. Repeat the whole thing, okay? You can have all kinds of fun improvising sort of what you're finger picking a little bit. Okay, I'm practicing going to that G, adding that finger, taking it off, going back to the A. And again, the whole point in me teaching you this is if you do this slowly, you build up to it, these fingers are just gonna naturally learn, okay, if I go to the G, I put my middle finger there, the ring and the index, they're just ready to get in there. They wanna hit the floor and get going. And what's gonna happen is when you're trying to play this like James Taylor, right? Whoops, that was not good. To the E. You have to get that G there kind of quickly in the James Taylor version. And this exercise I showed you here is going to help you do that, okay? So that's basically what you're going to need for the first part of this song. You're going to use this in the intro and in the verse of this song. And again, this 2-pager I got here, it's going to help you not only understand what the sort of left-hand position fingers are for the chords, but also the string assignments for your right hand, and then give you some exercises on page 2, okay? So if you want to get this, it's over on my Patreon page. You can find the link there or on my website. I recommend using my website, playsongnotes.com. This is lesson 428. You go there, it's going to give you the link to this lesson, the video, my related lessons for other James Taylor stuff, all kinds of stuff, and it'll link you out to Patreon, right? You could also go directly to Patreon. Their search isn't as great, but either way, this is available to members. Thanks to all of you who are supporting me. And again, this is honest truth. I am a couple days into practicing this song. There's so much to take in, you know. I'm sort of looking ahead at what's coming, at the chorus and everything. But the way, you know, I learned songs growing up, taking piano lessons, was you're not learning the whole song at once. Let's start with the first part, start with just the intro. And you don't learn the intro necessarily, like, you don't expect yourself to play like James Taylor in those first two measures right away. It's just kind of foolish in my opinion. Keep it nice and simple, right? Whoops. I'm improvising here. I know I'm using the right chords, but I haven't learned the exact James Taylor finger picking yet, right? And I'm sure he plays it differently over the years too. I mean, that's my understanding. So it's, again, you learn the chord shapes first, I think. Get comfortable with those. Learn those until it's like secondhand to you. Then you can say, okay, what exact strings is James Taylor plucking with his right hand? So that's going to be it for this one. Check out my website for the rest of this song, the rest of this lesson, teach you all the stuff you want to know for this song. This is a great song. And but again, I wanted to make this video to really get you going with this initial part of the song. Spend time with this. Get my printout. And then when you approach my lesson or other people's lesson for Fire and Rain, those first few chords, you're going to understand what's coming, okay? You're going to be ready and familiar with the lay of the land, and you'll be in good shape. So this has been David Potsiadlo. Check out the rest of my stuff at playsongnotes.com. Thanks to all of you who are watching me, and I'm going to take off now. Have a good one, and wherever you are, bye-bye.